Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. One of the most valuable things that we can find and hold is peace of mind. It's worth more than any amount of wealth or power or anything else to have a peaceful mind. And that is surprisingly rare in this world for people to have a actually peaceful inner space. Part of it is our culture tends to put a value on thrills and excitement, as you can see in any mass media, in movies, TV, modern music. It's all about ramping up the adrenaline. And the idea of being at peace internally and externally is not given a high worthiness in our Western mass culture. This misguided valuation can even be taken into the spiritual life. If we value spectacular experiences in meditation over developing a deeper calm and stillness. Not that peak experiences are not without value, but it's easy to fall into what has been called spiritual materialism, where it becomes all for the winning the prize. Yeah. The meaning of samadhi is stillness, stability. Well, the mind that's still is very deep and profound, and there's a lot of possibility there for the unfolding of wisdom. The mind that's excited and flustered and bothered is not conducive to developing wisdom. There's no space. It's like a cluttered room. There's no space for anything to come in. And you can't find what you're looking for. I've always appreciated that Zen aesthetic of the clean, clear space. Not that I've personally been able to achieve it very often, but there it is as an ideal, the open, clear space. And so there are different aspects to peace of mind. There's external expression and there's the internal experience. The external aspect of peacefulness is being at peace with the external world, the practice of ahimsa, non-harming. Not to make that a central ethic. Do no harm. Cause no distress, cause no pain or suffering to other beings. To live in the world, to walk through the world and harmlessly. It's actually more difficult than you might think to really get a high level of ahimsa. The first precept of Buddhist ethics is not to harm or kill sentient beings. And I often tell people here who are bothered by mosquitoes, for example, that you should look at the mosquitoes as your teachers. They're teaching you ahimsa. If you can get by in mosquito season without killing mosquitoes, then You're developing a high level of first precept and of non-harming. And there's an aspect here which I think is very important with the precepts of faking it till you make it. When someone who's not taken the first precept as a serious practice first begins to try and abide by it, they often have an internal struggle when they're bitten by insects. The instinct or the impulse is to squash them, to smack them, and they have to fight against that at first. And it's an external observation. The mind might even be still full of destructive impulses, but they physically restrain themselves. But then this affects the mind, and the impulse of non-harming becomes more and more internalized until it becomes second nature. And this, I think, works for all of the precepts, and is one of the benefits of keeping precepts, is the aspect of first taking on the external observation, and that training over time refines and subtilizes and purifies the mind. The internal aspect of peacefulness, being at peace within yourself, is even more important than an external observation of non-harming. To find that internal place of stillness and peace, have a still center. We might say there are different aspects of this, or different related states that support and encourage an inner peace. One of them is equanimity, upekkha, a very important one. The inner balance, the centeredness, being in the middle about that. It's one of the words for a type of very precise equanimity is tatra majjhatthata, which means being in the middle about that. So you're in the middle. You're not swayed to one extreme or the other. You're not moved by external impulses like pain and pleasure. The mind is not disturbed. These are just experiences. And the mind remains equanimous. Related to this is khanti, or patience, or patient endurance. Being able to bear hardship without having internal suffering. Taking things as they are, as they arise according to our karma. Having a right understanding of karma can help with this, because you understand, what you're experiencing as a result of your own actions in the past, and what your actions are now are setting the ground for what you'll experience in the future. Very important is our attitude towards our states of mind. That first of all, we should take responsibility for our own mind states and not externalize your state of mind. What I mean by this is, blaming other people or misfortune or conditions. Well, that's why I'm angry, that's why I'm sad, that's why I'm fearful. And also for positive states, the happiness and so on. It's not very secure to depend for external conditions on your happiness. Your happiness ideally should be independent of external conditions. There are said to be three kinds of happiness. The first and the lowest form, which is still happiness, is happiness derived from sense objects, which obviously is dependent on the external conditions. That the desirable objects of sense have to be present and experienced. So it's a very uncertain and shaky and undependable kind of happiness. Higher than that, more secure than that, is the happiness derived from jhana. This is the happiness that arises with samadhi, when the mind becomes very still and at peace, in that sense of stillness and stability. Not chasing after this or that, but remaining at peace in a unified way. Then the happiness arises in different grades here. We have piti and we have sukha. Piti is sometimes translated as rapture. It's the upswelling happiness that arises, and its experience has a very strong correlation with the body. That one can feel rushes of joy and tingling, or sometimes like spine rushes, or a sense like lightness of the body to the point where you feel like you're levitating. This is piti. But that's also been analyzed into different grades, and the highest form of piti is the uplifting piti, where you feel like you're free of gravity. And when that arises, sometimes if you're not careful, maybe the first time you really experience that, you may lose your meditation, because the illusion of floating is so real. You might open your eyes and see if you're floating, and you kind of break your meditation and lose it. Although, as a side note, it's also said that it is possible in rare cases that people actually have developed levitation. There was one of Ajahn Mun's teachers, Ajahn Son, who started levitating in his meditation, and he regarded it as a nuisance, because when he ended his meditation, he'd often fall. He'd be a few feet off the floor, and one time he hurt his hip. And he wanted to check one time, is this an illusion or is this real? And he got on a stool and put a piece of cardboard, stuck it in the thatch of the roof of his kuti. And then when he was in meditation, he felt like it was floating. He very carefully and mindfully, so as not to break his samadhi, he opened his eyes and grabbed that piece of cardboard, which was beyond reach from standing on the floor. He grabbed that piece of cardboard so it was in his hand when he emerged from meditation, and he could see, oh yeah, okay. So that's piti, and as I say, it comes in different grades. One of the minor forms of piti can cause the body to move and sway, and the common form is a kind of circular motion of the upper body. And I think the best practice here, if that's happening, is to gently, not violently or harshly, but very gently force the body to be still, and that will cause the piti to subtleize and become a more subtle, refined form, rather than the very rough physical form. But piti is present most strongly in second jhana. In third jhana, you get beyond piti, and there's the experience of sukha, or bliss, which is the higher form of this meditative happiness. This is the oceanic bliss, and it has no other physical manifestation except a feeling of complete well-being in the body. There's no tension or pressure anywhere. But it's a deep, profound happiness. It's been compared to the waves of the ocean. But the happiness of jhana, second level of happiness. The third is the bliss of nibbana, which is actually beyond happiness or bliss. And is the only one that's absolutely secure because it's beyond all conditionality. Turning it back to the main theme here, another aspect of peacefulness is the quality of santuti, or contentment, which has one form as the contentment with little. This has been compared by Shantideva, a Mahayana writer, to the wish-fulfilling gem. In Indian fairy stories and fables, often the hero is seeking the wish-fulfilling gem. It's sort of like in Western stories, it might be the Holy Grail or something. In Western stories, or Eastern, in Indian stories, the prize is the wish-fulfilling gem. If you hold the gem, all your wishes are fulfilled. It's like a magical, grants all your wishes, a magical object. And that real wish-fulfilling gem is contentment. Because once you have contentment, all your wishes are fulfilled, because you're not wishing for anything other than what you already have. So all your wishes are fulfilled. You have a complete fulfillment there. Some decades ago, I think it was in the 1960s, there was a dictator of Thailand who wanted to try and modernize the economy and bring in more capitalist activity. And he tried to order the monks to stop teaching about contentment. Because he wanted the people to have more ambition to get up and, make money. And, a lot of the monks complied out of not even so much of fear, but just out of the inbred habit of obeying authority. But there were some that refused. One famous one was Buddhadasa. He made quite a point of it, and started emphasizing it in his teachings. And so this is probably another reason why peacefulness is not valued in our society. It's not real good for the economy if you're feeling content. So as I already said, not to externalize your mind states. And the other side of that is not to take your mind state so seriously. This is something that is so difficult for people to grasp, but once they grasp it, it's so liberating. People suffer a lot just because of their mind states. Things arise in their mind that they fall into either anxiety about the future or remorse and regret about the past. And they seem to have a difficulty making the leap. This is just a mind state. It's essentially a conditioned phenomena, empty of any real substance. I don't have to let this bother me. A good assistance to this is to develop a sense of humor about your states of mind. Oh yeah, that's just me making a fuss about that again. It's ridiculous. I remember Kema once, one of the conversations, he said that he'd come to the conclusion that the universe is a big joke. And there was a woman listening who said, well, I don't think it's very funny. And Kema said, that's because you haven't got to the punchline yet. So don't take yourself seriously. Don't take your mind state seriously. But on a whole nother level, the most profound way of developing inner peace is to get some understanding of anatta, of emptiness. This is really the skeleton key that opens up so much. If you can begin to internalize that idea, and if you can then center your being in that clear knowing, the citta, which itself is emptiness. There's no substance there. And then the mind states that can be so troublesome, they become like weather that you're seeing outside the window. You're sitting in a nice warm cabin with the fire going and you're watching the blizzard out the window. You know? Whereas if you're not centered in your being, it's like being out in the blizzard trying to fight against the wind. Very closely related to this is the idea of being in the present moment. The present moment is really all you have. The past and future are illusory. And any creation of self only exists with a relation to past or future. How we create a self position, an ego, an identity in that sense is always either in relation to past or future. It can be related to the past in the sense that you define yourself by your history. You know, I was born in such and such a place and I went to school there and I worked here and I worked there and I met somebody and we did this, we did that. You know, this defines your identity. And it's all stuff that happened in the past. It's no longer real. Or we project ourselves into the future in either a negative way with anxieties and fears, or in a positive way with dreams and goals and ambitions. But there's still a creation of a self, either way, around some circumstances. But in the present moment, there's no room for a self. There's just mind arising to an object. And they're empty both ways. The knowing mind is void and the dhammas are empty. And there's nobody doing it. It's just consciousness arising to an object. That's all that's occurring in the present moment. And if that's truly seen, if that's experienced in a pure way without messing it up with theory and thought formations, if it's seen in a pure absolute way, then that's purely peaceful, equanimous, and luminous. It's just as it is at this moment. So the final point I'd like to make is a possible misinterpretation of these teachings. Being peaceful does not mean falling into water buffalo equanimity. As so much in the Buddhist teaching, there's a question of balance and harmony of different factors. And peacefulness without clarity and energy and the energizing factors then becomes dullness. No, that's not what we're seeking. In the fire sermon, the Buddha used the analogy of keeping a steady fire going. If the fire's dying out, then you want to throw in dry twigs and straw and get it kindled up, get it blazing again. If it's blazing out of control, it's too hot, then you want to throw in like wet green leaves and green twigs and branches to dampen it down. And he used this as a metaphor for balancing the mind between the energizing factors and the calming factors, and that both must be present. So this calmness, the stillness of mind, needs to be illuminated and energized with energy and investigation of reality, and with joy. Those are the three energizing factors. But those factors without calm then become erratic, discordant, restless energy. The mind is as bouncing around and out of control. So I'll leave that there today.
Pandamayam Devakataya Sadhukaram Navamase.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.